Hello and welcome to another LSB film podcast with me, your host Chris with a K. I hope everyone's well. What happens when two women spend years fighting the very institutions that they said were there to protect them? What happens when allegations of fraud, asset stripping, judicial misconduct, unexplained deaths and unanswered police reports begin to overlap in ways which is kind of difficult to ignore? Today's conversation isn't an easy one. It spans decades of legal battles, multi-million pound estates, allegations of corruption, reaching into the courts, the banking system, law firms, and even questions surrounding the death of businessman Scot Young. Joining me are Michelle Young, Maribel Montero-Cowell. Between them, they have spent years gathering documents, filing disclosure requests, challenging official narratives, and pursuing answers that they believe have been deliberately withheld. Whether you agree with their conclusions or not, the claims they're making are extraordinary, and extraordinary claims deserve to be heard. This is a story about power, accountability, and two women who refuse to walk away. So, let's get on with it.
Are you concerned about all this corruption being rebranded as conspiracy theory? Well, don't you worry. Sit back and relax and join in the conversation with today's guest. Welcome to another LSB Film Productions podcast with your host, Chris Brooks.
So yes, it's lovely to have you both here. Absolute legends. Welcome to the show.
My journey started 20 years ago, where the first day I ever walked into the courts, it was obvious that it was literally racketeering. You had barristers one side, barristers the other side. They're all in collusion with each other. They see your net worth and the rest is history. Now, my battle went on. It was a very high profile divorce. I worked very hard for 20 years and, we created a very, very large estate with high net worth properties, major IPOs worldwide in the high-tech industry. And the thing that was the most ridiculous thing my husband did, because we was going through divorce proceedings, he wanted to asset strip me of what we'd created. So he set up a power of attorney with a lawyer called Stephen David Jones in 2006, when the fraud started. Now, that document, by him, he coerced me to sign that as well. So what he was doing was handing over our estate to a lawyer. So they were all rubbing their hands together. I then filed for divorce. It went on as one of the biggest divorce battles in British history for 7 years. But what was in my favour, I used to prepare all my own documents with my team of lawyers. I had 3 lots of litigation funding on the merits of the case. But all they was doing kept take me back to court, not doing the right thing, and they were all arguing with each other because they was planning to steal the estate. So from that power of attorney, not only did I win all those applications, but I've got a bag full of hard drives, which I call the hard drives from heaven, because it exposes the whole of the system where they were all in collusion, from the judges, the lawyers to the accountants, where they was just stripping me and my husband of our net worth. Now, that is irrefutable hard drive evidence. It's a very big estate they've stolen. So going forward, so 2006, we signed the power of attorney. Then the battle starts in the courts, the family courts, in early 2007. I then, I'm winning all the applications because I was preparing my own documents with my team of lawyers. So in 2010, my husband and my family lawyer said he would do it. He'll declare himself bankrupt and sell everything for £1. Now, while we're on that point of selling a huge estate for £1, this is how the third-party fraudsters are also stealing from all of us across the country. They're setting up shell companies. They then liquidate the assets they're stealing from we the people, and then they put it into that, and they liquidate it. There's no accountants doing their work. There's no VAT being paid, so no one can see the assets they're stealing. And then what the banks are doing, where they're in collusion with them, this is all off ledger accounts where they're stealing from everybody worldwide. So what's happened here to me, Maribel, and to everyone else across this country is the same as what they're doing across the world. But it's very easy to create a fabricated debt for £1 and liquidate any amount of money. And then they use off-ledger accounts to steal the assets. That's how simple this asset stripping fraud is happening within our court system in this country and worldwide. So then, just finishing this story off, so in 2010 he declares bankruptcy. So in walks Grant Thornton, which is a Rothschild entity, to become trustees of the estate. Then he claims a fabricated debt with HMRC, which is the Crown or the Crown Corporation. So then my battle gets even bigger. So I'm then fighting, I'm having to get all this litigation on the merits of the case to keep the case going. So I used to go to court. So I had the Crown Corporation one side, HMRC, used to come in sometimes 10-handed. Then I'd have Grant Thornton Rothschild, who was then saying he was acting as the husband of my estate, because they was already stealing it from my silly husband, who signed a power of attorney to let them take the whole lot in 2006. So Grant Thornton are acting as in David Ingram's words, my husband of my estate, which is outrageous. So then I'm fighting them all in court. So they used to come in sometimes 20-handed the other side. I had my team of lawyers, which were 8 or 10. I'm preparing all these documents to fight them all on my own with this case, and just fighting with all my lawyers and counsel to make sure they prepared it exactly how I asked them. And that's the only reason I won all my applications. Plus, I used their mainstream media. So they used to come into court as well, sometimes 60 of them. They was told by all of the judges that it was restricted media in which they could not report on the real facts of the case. So that was all propaganda. So the media just twisted my evidence the same as the courts, because they're all part of the same collusion. So, and this is no different to anyone else. It's all part of this organised crime, these gangsters who are calling themselves lawyers and judges. And I'm afraid to say, I'm not saying it's all of them, but from what we're seeing across this country, where it's systemic and worldwide, it's the same pattern, no matter who you are, happening to all of us.
It's a big club and we're not in it.
Sorry?
It's a big club and we're not in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So then in 2013, I have a 4-week trial, and Justice Philip Moore, who was a judge sitting at that hearing, my husband used to have private meetings with him. And then he gave me a judgment order where he'd ignored on that 4-week trial the majority of the evidence and the majority of the hard drive evidence I prepared for that 4-week trial. I had 2 sets of accountants. I had all the I2 charts showing how much the estate was worth, all ignored. So then 2013, that 4-week trial finishes. And then within a year, my husband was then thrown over a balcony. There was no CCTV footage on.
They locked him in with a locksmith?
They locked him in, which Maribel can discuss. But then what they did, the girlfriend of that time, who was Noel Reno, was the last one to see him alive. All the CCTV cameras were switched off. It was impossible for him to have landed from that balcony, in the position of that balcony, onto the railings where they threw him. She was then shredding all the evidence 2 days later. The police have refused to investigate it. She's never been properly questioned. The police even now are refusing, with the coroners, to give us all the documents to prove it was, what happened to him, all the toxicology reports. As we are currently speaking, they're refusing to give us that evidence. So it was a major cover-up with the establishment, because it's a very big estate they've stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And we are now fighting on, and I'm going to hand it over to Maribel.
Now, before we get back into our show, a quick word from our sponsors. If you've ever had that unexpected knock at the door from police, a visit from bailiffs, or received a legal threat without warning, you'll know just how quickly confusion and fear can set in, and that's where Willoughby Genius Mark II comes in. Built on more than 750,000 legal entries and across 50 plus countries, it provides immediate legal guidance when you need answers fast. No waiting for appointments, no eye-watering hourly fees. Just direct access to the relevant legal information right when you need it. It helps to verify information, explains your options, guides you through legal situations with clarity and precision. Legal technology is evolving rapidly, and those who understand it will be better equipped. Now, before we jump back into the show, click in the link below, use LSB Pro for £5 off of your first month's premium. Right, let's get back into it.
Thank you,
Welcome
Michelle.
to the show, Maribel.
We've opened a murder investigation in the US, basically, on the back of this. I just add as a bit of a note that it happened at 33 Montague Square, and in the transcript, Noah Reno noted that at 3:30 p.m. Scot Young walked in out of the fucking blue to the apartment before they locked him in. But my case, I found myself, in summary, working for a company called J. Stern & Co., who are co-located with Edmund de Rothschild in London. And since the Epstein files have been released in February, I've been able to rationalise what's happened to me, as basically I was the legitimization for, I was an FCA authorised person when I've now been able to prove that there was no planet on which they could have been authorised legally, that was used to legitimise what appears to be a money laundering front for an Epstein vehicle in London. The primary perpetrator against myself is somebody called Thomas Leone and Alfred Price. His father was a deputy High Court judge, and in essence, he's made my life and my family's life hell for 12 and a half years. I started their business. I found the first investors for their business. He sent me an email saying, "Brilliant, well done. I always knew you could do this." And then I went on holiday, which he would have known about as my employer, and the first leg in a carousel property fraud occurred. So I lost my first property to a freak sewage flood that was never investigated. I can now prove that it was a criminal. It was not a naturally occurring event, and it was. And I have done over 100 DSARs to basically join up the evidence and prove that J. Stern & Co., Tom Price, were basically working with Barclays, the too big to fail bank, to asset strip me of my properties, and they were also targeting my parents' properties. What's quite interesting, I just noticed actually some research today, is that within the last month, BlackRock have got a fixed charge over Barclays, the entire business of Barclays. Something big is going on. Barclays itself is an entirely encumbered business. It actually should not be too big to fail. It's a failing business by definition. It's got so many charges over it, and to all appearances, J. Stern & Co. and other entities involved have worked together for the benefit of Barclays to asset strip me. So where this sort of fits in with Epstein is that, for those of you who have not really looked into the Epstein files, they're fascinating. The little that's been released so far. Basically, Jez Staley was banking Jeffrey Epstein at JP Morgan in the US. He was basically the account handler, and JP Morgan failed to file suspicious activity reports on Jeffrey Epstein because he was their most profitable client. Then there was a thing called Project Jez, in which there was a lobbying effort going on to put Jez Staley in as the CEO of Barclays in the UK. This occurred between 2012 and 2015, and he was put in position in December 2015. So you've got this sort of continuity between JP Morgan and Barclays, with Jez Staley, who was the right-hand man of Epstein. He was executor on his will for quite some time. And this is where things get quite interesting in relation to the UK government, because the UK government basically had all its contracts with Barclays until March 2025, which was just before Jez Staley was fined and banned from operating in financial services. So something very interesting is going on in terms of how the banks are working with the judicial apparatus to asset strip us. I've lost everything. I was, I had a squeaky clean FCA record, when I was used as the person who started the business of J Stern and Co. I've been researching them, and I can't see how any of them are able to operate, but they are still operating. And I went to the police back at the outset when Tom Price first assaulted me in the office, and the police were the ones that misdirected me to the employment tribunals, which is where the second leg of my property fraud started. But yeah, that's the essence of my case. I think we're going to see an awful lot more coming out soon in relation to the Epstein files. I mean, Sir Mark Rowley is over visiting New York, saying he wants the Epstein files released in relation to Mandelson and Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew. But I've been reporting J Stern and Co., who are adjacent with Edmund de Rothschild, who'd been convicted of money laundering last year. One of the entities dissolved just before Jerome Stern stepped down, and is now in the Panama Papers has changed his name, and he's in Italy. So there's a question there as to, I've been reporting them since February 2017, and nothing happened. And I'm still, I'm being persecuted, and none of us are seeing justice in this country.
That's incredible. See, the first thing that struck out for me is your first opening bit where you said 3:30 in the morning, 33 being the Masonic number. So they tell you.
They tell you, and I've had, throughout my case, 33s. The employment tribunals, the judge who had a triple financial conflict, I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt, Bernard Hodgson. He was also, his firm, he was a part of a firm that basically controlled by Barclays, plus a litigation funder had sold my data about my SW1 property to him the year before. But he awarded 330,000 to them in an employment tribunal when his maximum jurisdiction was 20,000. So that's, and then when I realized, because Mishcon de Rea threw me under a bus Mishcon de Rea represent, just so you know, they defend a lot of the Epstein defendants, like the Maxwells, Andrew and Mandelson. They threw me under a bus to Withers, but and they would have known that everything struck out in my case back in February 14th, 2018. I started challenging things in September 2024 in front of a cost judge, like, where on earth is my cost assessment, which is my right by law, statutory right. And Withers was saying, but on page 33, we rewarded, the entirety of our costs. So they always code it with 33s, they always do. Yeah.
So 33 can have a positive spin, though, I think.
We like it.
Yes.
Because I see it everywhere. And so if you go down the angel number kind of route, 33 is quite positive. But this is the thing, though, they invert everything, don't they? Exactly. They take everything good and they use it for bad. So everything that they do preach is actually technically quite good, but yeah, absolute arseholes. So so what is the state of play at the moment? Where are you, like, how are you fighting this?
We have a New York lawyer who is he's got an impeccable record, and he's intuitive, and he has he's very different. He literally came up with they're the godless, and so we've been working as CS1 and CS2 witnesses with a US victim. Well, we don't like the word victim, but somebody who was basically attacked by the judge that let Epstein off after he moved from Miami in 2008 to New York and basically downgraded his status so that he could continue his operation. We've been combining our evidence for a RICO action. And we filed into his case in Texas, well, a billionaire's case in Texas who's got one of the same perpetrators as Michelle, and into Georgia with the lead plaintiff, our evidence. So Michelle's case, we've got some of the same but it does tend to boil down to the same perpetrators. Yeah. So we've filed our evidence and we've shown the patterns, and we've shown how, exactly the same playbook, and how it's happening both sides of the Atlantic. And this is where it gets quite interesting with our too big to fail banks, the relationship between JP Morgan, Barclays, Rothschild and Co., HM Treasury, the revolving door of the HM Permanent Treasury, and these entities. I mean, it's just a revolving door. They're moving between these entities, and and asset stripping us because they are failing businesses themselves. I mean, they shouldn't be too big to fail. So we're being asset stripped. That's what's happening globally. Yeah.
Which is pretty much what they say COVID was, isn't it? That was I wouldn't say it was the start, but it was a huge ramp up of asset stripping.
Yeah. So we filed something called the God List, the Great British Murders, and we are in the process of recovering Michelle's estate. We're going to be announcing we've basically she's got the global worldwide freezing order, Michelle, and we're going to be recovering it. Do you want to speak a bit about that?
Well, yes. I mean, in 2007, I was granted this worldwide freezing order. So anyone knowingly that has moved any assets from the estate, it has a penal notice on it. So they will have their assets seized and or go to prison. So this is, as our New York lawyer has said, it's a murder investigation.
Exactly.
So as whoever has murdered Scott is implicated in the asset stripping. So with that penal notice and the fact this is now being reopened as a murder investigation in which the police and the coroner have refused to give the vital evidence of with the reports. All those third parties, it could be judges, accountants, lawyers that have concealed and committed perjury in the courts with that order, are implicated. And a penal notice is, with the freezing order, is equivalent in the legal world to a lien, but it works and it's very powerful. So with all the hard drive evidence and the fact that I've won all those applications, this is just enforcement, but we're bringing in, which is very important, the murder investigation, which is a very serious offence, which then backtracks the case back to 2006 when they asset stripped me. And what they do to each and every one of us, they drag it out for years. They're hoping that you will die. So that they
manslaughter. Yeah.
But with this, there's no time limitation with the freezing order or the murder inquiry. So all of those that think they have got away with it, they need to think again.
Because fraud is not categorically not investigated in the UK. In fact, money laundering is the underlying economy of the UK. This is what we've all discovered. Fraud literally is not investigated. And what we're finding is that our properties are ending up in BVI structured vehicles offshore that are in police benevolent funds. This is why the police are aiding and abetting our unlawful evictions, because they're benefiting from our asset stripping. And it's extremely violent. It is like we are living in Nazism. There's no other way to compare what some of us have been going through. But the framing of it as a murder investigation, we're not looking at the fraud. That's a given. The murder, everyone who touched upon the murder of Michelle's husband has been aiding and abetting a murder. So and this is why we're bringing in. We've got within our team. We've got the former head of global security at Barclays, who knows where all the bodies are buried. We've got a leading professor on the death penalty. We are trying to we're trying to focus on getting justice through, because fraud is just ignored.
Oh, that's incredible. I'm getting music, but I don't know where this music's coming from in my ears. Can you hear music? You can.
No,
You can hear
No,
it.
no. Maybe
No,
we're
no.
being intercepted because that happens a lot.
maybe. It's strange. Okay, well,
Well, you know something that I would say to anyone that is listening, you haven't got a warrant and it's
Mm.
unlawful and illegal and you will be traced. So
Yeah.
go away.
yeah. So I've shut the music off. We're not being intercepted. I'm just a pillock. There you go.
All right. Okay. I'm sure there's quite a few people listening as well.
I was going to say, I'm
No,
sure
yeah.
I'm sure it's happening, but just not that
Yes. And all I'd
blatantly.
say is
It's,
good afternoon. And
it's
you haven't got a warrant.
It's constant. Michelle's got people sitting outside her home. We're all being harassed, cyber stalked. We can prove it. We've had 666.
Well,
on our
even with our
phones.
software.
How do, I've got to ask a serious.
In the software. It's ridiculous.
I've got to ask a serious question. How do you
Mm.
manage that? Because the thing that puts most people off from, I don't know, even if it's tackling council tax payments and stuff, it's the fear. So the things that you must be having to constantly looking over your shoulder if you get a call with a withhold number on it, your cholesterol must be, cortisol rather, must be. I just. How do you
We have
manage?
no choice.
For me personally, I think because they knew, one side of my family, it's the George Orwell bloodline, and I think
Oh, is
I
it?
was probably targeted from the day I was born. So I don't do fear, I do faith, and I don't even give them any energy. How about that? I
That's
sometimes
perfect.
photograph them and with their number plates and say, but really, to be quite frank, I'm here with everyone. My website's makeearthgreatagain.org.uk, which has got the great John Bingley's work, which is our solution is the Bill of Rights, the rule of law.
1888. Yeah.
And that man knows how to place documents better than anyone else I know. And we are really here to for the people to take back, and we're very powerful, and we're going to empower everyone across our country and world, and bring back the rule of law.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
And you know how at the start of this you said this is a spiritual war?
Yes.
I truly believe, and it's obviously going to be with people like yourselves, I think the return of Christ, and I've said it in previous podcasts, is going to be a consciousness upgrade. It's going to be Christ consciousness. It's not going to be some bloke in a beard wearing a white robe. It's going to be, we're going to be elevated. And I think it's the work that you guys do that helps that up. Yeah.
Yes. Beautifully said.
As you said, it's complete inversion. You go to these people are on a pedestal because they're supposed to uphold the law and the rule of law, and it's the complete opposite. And you only find out when it's too late. Yeah, and then you realize, oh my God, and then it's like you're stuck in a spider's web of crime, and that's literally what it is. Yeah.
And it's a very isolated journey.
We mustn't give it energy either. That's why we just focus on the solutions. And fear is how they've controlled us. Those days are over. There's too many people awake. It's their citizen journalism, like we're having this amazing podcast today. So, I'm very happy to work with the mainstream media, but you've got competition now, and it's godly competition. It's called the alternative media, where people can put the documents up. So if you want to try and take everything we own in the courts and through government or through any of the institutional fraud, we're going to put it out there and tell the truth. And there's too many people awake now. We're in the middle of the Great Awakening. And I believe in a very, even though it's, it looks like we're it's very difficult for everyone, which it is. We are winning this war.
We are winning now. Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard to get disillusioned. Sorry, it is quite easy to get disillusioned because you don't tend to see the results. But it's that whole faith of having it's working in the background. I was just finished a podcast with Dale Vincent, who's just won his court case. The Welsh legend. I'm surrounded by legends. How lucky am I? And it's incredible. It really, the journey that he's just done, and it's the same with you. It's just having that courage. It's incredible. I've actually forgotten where I was going with that, but yeah, it's awe-inspiring.
Yes.
Well, but I think we believe that when we do start winning, people will stand up and go, yeah, it happened. It happened to me too. There are so many victims of extremely violent, unlawful evictions at the moment, and we know why. It's because the too big to fail banks are completely bankrupt, and they're stealing our assets to give to the people who really control them. That's what's happening, and so the violence is, it is on the level of Nazism. I mean, Tom Price has sledgehammered my door 3 times now. Sledgehammered. I don't say that lightly, right? He has, he started with him assaulting me in the office, and the police, did nothing. The police have, we have no police that are working for us in this country, I don't believe. So
just policy enforcers.
Yes.
Yeah. They follow the money. They follow that it's the corporation. The most evil thing that was ever invented was the corporation, and it was invented by lawyers, wasn't it? So it removes the accountability from the person to a structure, and that's where the psychopathy comes in.
That's it. Well, a person's a corporation as well, isn't it?
Sorry, sorry.
As is the United Kingdom. So anything that is concluded within the United Kingdom is corporation.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the human being removes the accountability from the human being to the.
And I actually don't think, to be quite frank, that all the judges and all the lawyers are bad, but they're being controlled. Their allegiance is to the bar.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a judge say he can't go against the court or the bank.
Yes.
He actually said, I can't go against the bank because the bank control the judges.
And isn't bar Latin for bank? Is it bar that's Latin for bank?
Exactly. Absolutely.
There you go.
All leads back to Rome and the Vatican, doesn't it?
All paths lead to Rome, yeah.
City
of London.
Time to blow the lid. Time to blow the lid.
So we believe that we're making progress now, and we do believe that getting the spotlight on the godless is going to help everybody, because and I think the release of the Epstein files, they've mapped out. It's taken a long time for them to be released, and they're not fully released yet. But they've mapped out for us the perpetrators. It's very clear now. It's primary sourced evidence in the public domain. It doesn't get better than that. You can't argue with it. So it's all there.
That's what I was going to say. Sorry, Dale said that in his opinion, he thinks what we're all seeing now is a military show. Everything's being run by the military now.
So that's positive.
Yeah, because I can't remember the whole ins and outs of why he said it's positive, but yeah, it's positive. Kind of like the white hats. If you're familiar with the white hats and Q and all that, I'll stay on the fence, because I'm not sure. I'm optimistic that humanity will win. Whether that's in my lifetime, whether I get to see that, I don't know. I am optimistic that good will out, but we're told so many things by so many different people from different sides of the spectrum. It's just really hard to get my head around where to put my trust, I suppose.
I do think we're seeing the end of the Western banking system as we know it. Either way, we're seeing the end of it. We're just going to make sure we don't fall into the control trap of digital ID and how they intend to shut us all down.
But we are winning. We're actually going to introduce you to someone else we're working with, who's actually got all the off-ledger accounts worldwide. So humanity is not in debt. We are actually in a very wealthy position. So we'll introduce you to that gentleman in the next couple of weeks, who's got all the bank accounts worldwide, showing that
perhaps he can funnel some of that my way.
Well, no, but this is the idea. He's going to release it for all.
And he's got all the offshore accounts worldwide from all the banks. So for everybody that's listening, the abundance is coming. Nothing is going to stop what is coming. And this is a very positive podcast for humanity, because if we focus on the solutions with the Bill of Rights, the rule of law, with John Bingley, we focus on taking we the people back control of the rule of law. We've got Rupert Lowe now, who I'm a very big fan of, who's calling it out as it is, and I think he's going to be fantastic for our country. And John Bingley can place a document for everyone across this country, so that we take back control of our governments and our courts with those simple documents. And then we carry on podcasting. No one, I say to all the groups, just keep going, putting all the evidence on alternative media. Yeah. And eventually we're chipping away, and we the people are making superb progress.
Yeah, and we've one of the people we know has recently launched a Facebook page where we're naming and shaming the judges, what they've done. We're constantly doing positive things. Where it's as our US lawyer says, it's sunlight is the best disinfectant. You expose, and the cockroaches run. Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, certainly it's a very interesting time to be alive. That's for sure. Definitely.
And for those that, it is barbaric what they've done to Maribel, myself, and every human being on this planet. They have blood on their hands, and it's treason.
It is treason.
So they're going to have to face the consequences, because we are, I'd say, the 98%, because with all their secret societies, they're probably 2%. And the Wizard of Oz, the curtain is now open, and we can see exactly who they are. Yeah, and we've got them named. So I think we are winning the war. God wins anyway. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have to put the effort in between us.
I think that's one of the biggest problems I find within the truth freedom movement, that a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of good people, but there's a lot of people who just want everything done for them.
We have to put the work in.
We have to stand up together, and we have to stay united, and we have to be coordinated, and we have to, Michelle's fantastic at remaining positive. We advance slowly and surely. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Oh, so what's your support structure then? What's your support team like? Because I assume you must have. You got a team behind you? It's not just you two.
No. We're working with most people across the country. Look, I think this is what we mustn't do on this call. We're human beings. We're not perfect. We all make mistakes. But if we all unite and we all stay together and keep it focused on the Bill of Rights, the rule of law, and we all just keep exposing, we end up with someone like Rupert Lowe taking back our country. And we all have to stand together, and we have to simplify the fraud. You can't.
Does Rupert Lowe go down the Bill of Rights route? Is he familiar with all that, or is he still very much establishment, but singing a different tune?
Well, I think what I'm trying to do, and with Maribel and others, we're trying to introduce John Bingley with Mike Burke, keeping it simple, that they're in breach of the coronation oath. Yeah. We have a Bill of Rights that can actually rectify everything with the rule of law. So I have introduced through third parties the simple evidence. I think at the moment, Rupert still doesn't realise that our written constitution is in the Bill of Rights. It's there in that simple instrument. And if we all across the country stick to those documents, the way John Bingley's placed those documents, and keep it simple, and the fact that the Crown is in breach of its coronation oath, the Crown Corporation, it's a very simple way to break the corporations and take back control of our courts and governments. I think that is a very simple message today for everyone to start looking at John Bingley's work, which is actually on the Make Earth Great Again website, .org.uk.
Have you had any dealings with Graham Moore?
Yes, I know about Graham. Graham learned a lot of his work through Mike Burke and John Bingley. I think his work's superb too.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say I would hook you two up if you weren't familiar with each other.
I don't know him personally, but I know that he has worked closely with John Bingley's work and Mike Burke. Okay.
Well, perhaps I can get his email for you, and then it's just someone you could have on your He's quite knowledgeable as well, isn't he?
He's very knowledgeable. Yeah.
Because the Bill of Rights the Bill of Rights is still live. Didn't go anywhere, and it hasn't been updated. Well, it's been updated, but it hasn't been overturned or overruled, has it? So
they can't repeal it. They cannot repeal it. No.
No, they can try and hide it, but they can't.
Which they have done. Yeah. But we don't get taught it at school, do we? That's not interesting.
Well, this is it. That's also why they stopped teaching Latin and etymology. Where do you see ourselves in like the next 5 to 10 years?
I see an abundance on this earth, and that by then we'll be absolutely free. But you see, what we mustn't do, the division is how they've controlled us. Yeah. So I believe we no more division. I think the 98% have to work together.
Yeah.
And we have to retrain our judges and our MPs with our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, and keep it very simple. But, we are going to, I'm afraid to say, have to clean house and remove a lot of the wrongdoing. And that's how I see our future, keeping it that simple. We should maybe, whether we set up a new sheriff's service with the police, because there are a lot of good police officers still. But if we set it up as a sheriff's service and follow the Constitution with the rule of law, remove this usury and work a system that works for everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how, because I think one of the biggest issues anyone would face going forward, taking on a new system, would be how do you get rid of the what is this, the cat scratching? How do you get rid of the corruption in the regards of temptation, where I'll do this, all like you've got your WEF, all these political and ideological group think tanks. How do you get rid of those? Because they're a big problem, aren't they? The government really are just pushing what they preach.
Yes,
it's treason. So there used to be the death penalty for treason, and it sat there as a warning. If you did the wrong thing, there is a penalty, and we all know he removed the ultimate penalty for treason. And I think that's where a lot of things started to go wrong. So obviously Tony Blair. So,
of course, yeah.
So I think if we had, if you do things that are so inimical to humanity, then you're going to end. This is completely anti-life. What they're doing, it's a satanic death cult, basically. They don't want, it's anti-life. So if there has to be a consequence if you do something. That
on that scale, to that magnitude.
Yeah, that is anti-life, that harms the rest of society. I mean, the law really should be do no harm to others. Do not do unto others as you will be undone. It's very basic stuff. If you don't understand that, you can't get your head around the 10 Commandments. That basic principle of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I mean, that is, everyone can understand that. And ignorance of that law, there is no defence. Whereas, ignorance of millions of statutes and amendments that came in recently, no one could possibly know all this stuff. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
Although I'm not sure, because without getting too third worldy, that that's kind of where we're heading. All these European countries, they're all becoming third world because they're being run down because of the influx of third world. So a lot of the things which we agree on, which you've just spoken about, that isn't applicable to these kind of people. So we've now got, and this is also where the division comes in again, because we've now got that to contend with, which is so pressing at the moment. How do we overcome those kind of obstacles?
I believe we overcome those obstacles with a great gentleman that we're working with at the moment. We were actually in Parliament yesterday, Maribel and I, and this judge was superb. They've agreed to have a call with him. So, which I think is wonderful. I sat there with them yesterday explaining the work he's done, that he's got all the off-ledger accounts to give back to humanity. And he's got all the gold. And we've got to start enforcing that worldwide and have co-trustees in each country. But I think to make sure this never happens again, so that human beings, through greed and corruption, I believe what we should have with a new system, a constitutional system, and bring back that independence and with the rule of law, is anyone that has a position of privilege and you know, where they're meant to be helping the human race, if they don't within a year do what they are meant to do, they are taken out of that position and replaced within 1 year. And that's got to be part of the new law within each country. They're given 1 year to prove themselves. If they don't, they're out and someone else replaces them.
Makes sense.
Misconduct in public office.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
You can't really argue with that.
I believe in simplicity.
Totally.
And that's why the Bill of Rights is very simple. It's one instrument that goes right the way back to natural law. And because it has our written constitution in there, we all did that. If we all just followed that with John Bingley, where he places the documents across this country, how simple. And everyone would empower Rupert, who is actually calling out the government as organising crime. If we all just keep it simple, everyone take away those egos, but just keep to the simplicity of what's going to work for all of us.
You know what ego is, don't you? Edging God out.
Yes.
And that seems to be a rather big problem these days.
We must unite. That is, and keep it that simple.
Unite and do unto others as you would have been done unto you. Very simple. Don't
treat
steal,
those
don't
how you
kill,
expect to be treated.
Yes.
But just don't steal, don't kill. You know, this kind of stuff.
Yes.
Or, if you don't mind the odd swear word, don't be a... No, I won't say it. So the issue I find, and I spoke to Dale about this as well, we've just got Elon Musk, who has just become a trillionaire. Now, to me, if somebody has got that amount of money and we still have world hunger,
something's wrong, isn't it?
There's a little bit of an issue with him, I think, because he's got enough money to literally buy the world over 3 times.
But is that true? Because remember, the infiltration with the enemy puts a lot of information out there that isn't quite factual to use the division. I think the simplest way is to take all this off-ledger money that we know about back to humanity. That's where the money is, through the BlackRock, Vanguard and State Street. But we beautiful news. We now know the trustee of all the world's funds. And he's an amazing man. And he's going to make sure that that money goes back to humanity. And we're working with him on that at the moment. And I'm sure he would be a pleasure, if you wouldn't mind, to do a show with him.
Absolutely.
With that evidence. And it's positive. That's what we want.
No more
poverty and prosperity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a nice place to wrap that up. That's perfect. So yeah, I'd be more than happy to speak to him. What's his name?
His name is Adrian.
Adrian Fonzi.
Yeah.
Okay, Adrian. Yeah.
An amazing man. He sits as a judge. His knowledge and his integrity is just incredible. So
they attacked him and also failed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine they'd try. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be great to speak to a judge.
Yes.
It really would.
Especially one that's on the side of humanity.
All the help we can get. Is there anything that you'd like to, Maribel, anything that you'd like to close with? Any messages?
I just think we're in a very positive place right now because, as I said, we've got the best class of evidence out there in the public domain now, which is going to lead to prosecutions of some of these banking cartel criminals. So that's what we're working on. And I think the message is, it's positive. Stuff is happening now. And, anyone who's got, who wants to come on the journey with us, please get in contact because we are, we're all working together on this. And it's, so yeah.
Absolutely. I will leave all your links.
We do have a professor on RICO and racketeering.
Exactly.
And this is all racketeering and money laundering.
It's all,
Ukraine. Yeah. No, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much. Before I demonetize myself, I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
And God bless everybody.
Thank you. And I hope everyone watching this has enjoyed it. And until next time, look after yourselves. Don't let them get you down. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Thank you.